Hello there.
Hello there. Welcome back to the Sky Guys podcast. We are going to wrap up the last region of the Star Wars animated live action bracket. They were going to go to the Ashley Eckstein region. One of your hosts, Mike Phillips. Join me today, as always, Pete Consadori is here. Pete, how are you?
Doing fantastic. We're finishing up this fourth part of the bracket, right? We're going to get our final four after today.
Yep.
I'm very excited. Very excited to talk with you guys about it and see what you guys think about this last group here.
Yep, the last four we're covering here. Also with us here today, our droid mechanic on the podcast, Nick Fraietta, is here. Nick, how are you?
I'm doing good too. When Pete said our fourth bracket here, it made me think about how really feel sorry for the listeners because it's like when we complain about the Clone Wars and imagine a month of your life was watching the droid arcs. They have to listen to 4 episodes of us ranking characters from live action to animation to live action instead of having a new show. But that's coming soon. So just bear with us. That's what the off season's for these wacky ideas.
Yeah, I mean, it's bracket month.
That's right. It's bracket month. But we decided to do it in November/October/December this year rather than March. But that's too bad.
To be fair, in March, we had 2 shows going on.
We were busy. That's right. Yeah, we were busy.
Yeah, thank Lucasfilm for deciding to run Bad Batch and Mail at the same time for why you're getting your bracket in November instead of March.
Yep.
All right. So, Pete, if you want to subscribe to the Sky Guys package, do so Apple Podcasts, Google Play, TuneIn, Spotify, Amazon, all usual suspects. Simply search for the Sky Guys podcast, favorite podcast platforms, get episodes there. And we're almost done with the bracket. We're going to have more fun stuff coming, so make sure you're subscribed.
There's a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline. We have a lot of stuff planned for you guys. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of that content.
Yep. And Nick, if you want to follow us on social media, how can they do that?
They can follow us at Sky Guys Podcast, and that's going to be on Instagram. It's going to be on Twitter X, on Threads, and TikTok.
All right. You can also follow the YouTube version, Mike Phillips on YouTube. We let the graphics up every week. Plus, raising for the season, Lego Ahsoka is here as we get ready to crown the 4th region here and the name is based on the voice actress of the original Ahsoka, Ashley Eckstein. So, perfect energy there, Pete.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right, so let's get to some Star Wars news here. So, Nick, what do you got in the news department?
I have that Kanan's lightsaber is coming to Galaxy's Edge. That's the first thing. Pretty cool. Pete, you were there. Was it there?
I did not see it. However, I do have one thing about lightsabers in Galaxy's Edge, if I may have a moment. They had Ahsoka's lightsabers, and they are severely, severely oversized. The hilts. Severely. And that bothers me.
You know,
especially
I've
for
been
the
there.
Price tag of $350.
I've been there a lot. I don't know where they keep the lightsabers.
Yep.
Where do I go to find these lightsabers?
So the pre-made hilts, the ones that are already there.
Yeah.
So they had them at the Outpost in Disney Springs. They had them in the Star
in
Wars.
Galaxy's Edge, I mean.
In Galaxy's Edge, they had.
Where is the store that sells these lightsabers?
So
I know where to go to build your own. I know
there is a store attached to that, but I don't know if they actually had those lightsabers there.
I don't think they do.
You have to do it outside of Galaxy. Yeah, I think it's Disney Springs or Galaxy's Edge. I think that's where you'd have to go.
Because I've been there countless times. I know where you can buy a droid. I know where you can make your own lightsaber. Mm-hmm. I know where you can go to get some blue milk. But I do not know where you go and buy those things. All right, whatever. The next piece of news is Kevin Feige. I always want to make sure I pronounce that correctly. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yep, Kevin Feige.
Kevin Feige's Star Wars movie is officially dead. And yeah, we saw that one coming.
Yeah, I think he's got too many more problems than Marvel, Pete, than to worry about a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so you didn't hear the news though that the Marvels was the highest grossing ever superhero movie with a female director who was born in April on the second in the PM times ever.
That's a lot of qualifiers.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, in all seriousness, it completely bombed.
Yeah, they have a lot of problems over there. Kevin Feige does not need to get Star Wars right now.
Right. And then I also got here that Mando Season 4 is said to be the top priority for Disney post the writer's strike. But Pascal may not do more than voice, again, due to other commitments. I'm assuming The Last of Us Season 2 I'm not
Yeah.
sure what else he's been up to. He does a lot nowadays, but
I believe he has a
we'll see if
movie
we can get him
working
around.
on as well.
Yeah, see if we can get him around.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll be around a little bit. Like it may be majority of him in the helmet, but
I mean, season 3, Pete, he was only in the helmet. We did not see him take the helmet off.
Correct. And
yeah, season 1. I mean, we only did for a little bit,
Yeah, but like usually at the once a season, he takes the helmet off. And like we did not get it at all.
Right.
Would that bother you, Pete, if we get this again where like he's only voice acting?
Personally, I think it's not a bother. It's more so if we're going to do that, let's just go a different direction. If Pedro Pascal is too busy for this project, which is understandable, right? He's gained a ton of popularity since The Mandalorian, and also too he's done stuff before that, right? It's not just The Mandalorian show. But yeah, I mean, he if that's the case, that's fine. Let's move on to Bo-Katan centered or different centered. I don't think we need to have, and we talked about this in extent when it came to the Mandalorian show. It's not called Din Djarin, it's called the Mandalorian. So it could be anyone in that race of people, right? So I think if he's too busy, that's okay, and he should be busy because he's a very successful person right now, and he deserves that success. Let's move on from Din Djarin. Let's switch it up a bit.
Nick, to me, I think like if he's willing to voice act and you still want to keep him around, that's fine. But to me, it's like actually have him be the lead of his show and not hand it off to a different character.
Yeah, I mean, being the lead is one thing, and I agree with you there. He should be the lead of the show. It's his show. I mean, it doesn't have to be a show, but it is his show as of now. But to be honest, you're mentioning how like, oh, he didn't take his helmet off last season, and I didn't even know that until you said that. So like to me, that really doesn't matter. He took it off once in season 1, once in season 2. If he doesn't take his helmet off, I don't think it's a big deal. So like, as the show is good and the show's interesting and they have good plot points and keeps me engaged and there's cool action, that's all I really care about. I'm not going to complain if his helmet's on or off.
Let me add this. I mean, just to kind of retract my statement, we didn't complain, or I'm sure people didn't complain about the original trilogy that Darth Vader's helmet never came off until the final scene. We never saw James Earl Jones in the show. We just heard his voice. So if it can work for Darth Vader, why not Din Djarin? But I will double down what I said. If he is too busy, then maybe it's time to talk about should he be too busy for something where he is the lead of a show.
All right, so I think that's a conversation.
How could he be so like? It's not like I'm a little like confused. I mean, I get he's in other things, but like so are everybody else.
Yeah, well, I think
he's not the only one in other shows. Like,
yeah, I mean, like like Last of Us, I think probably got like it's all based on these contracts, based on like what position you're in for like what you have to do your shows in. I'm sure like Last of Us got huge like priority for HBO. Like given it's an HBO property, though, depending on how they go the second game, he may not be on that show for too much longer.
Like there are like Katie Sackhoff's in other shows, she's in other movies. Like I don't know, just seems like it seems a little strange to me.
That's definitely on the agent trying to get him more than fine is. Oh, I'm not just the Star Wars, the guy in the suit.
Yeah, I just don't get how he's so busy. I don't know. I mean, the other characters who are in other shows. So,
all right, that for the news department.
What is it?
All right, so we teased this a little bit last week. We're now doing the Ashley Eckstein region here. We mentioned that Nick's our droid mechanic because we do have 2 droids in this bracket here. So here's our 4 people trying to join the final 4 with Thrawn, with Bo-Katan, and with Ezra here. We have Huyang, we have Boba Fett, we have Sabine, and we have Chopper. So we have 2 Mandalorians and 2 droids. So this is going to be a fun grouping, Pete.
I agree. This is a very, very fun grouping. I think last time I said that the Ezra and Grievous was the most intriguing, but being reminded of this really makes me intrigued. Like a better word.
Yeah, I think take your pick between the Ezra Grievous one, any of these 2, or the Cad Bane Saw Gerrera one. Those I think were our best pairings of matchups to discuss.
I agree with that.
All right, so let's start at the top here, which we'll start with our 1 seed here, Huyang. So I'm gonna find a visual of him. But Nick, like remember when we did this bracket, we were very surprised Huyang was as high in the bracket as he was.
Yeah, but then again, it is for good reason. It looks literally perfect, right?
Yep, I'm gonna pull up the animated version versus the live action version here in a second. So, like,
And from what I remember from him in the Clone Wars, it was pretty identical character wise too. So the fact that he's out of one seed is really not a problem, I'd say.
Yeah, so I got the look here for Huyang's, and go ahead and put this one up on the screen in a second here. But I think, Pete, do they deserve? This is the look here. Left is actually on here. I'm gonna get out of this one a second because
You gotta become a member.
I was just about to say, you gotta get the coupons.
I'm not gonna get any coupons. They don't get my money.
If you become a member, then you wouldn't have to change websites here.
Right.
Yeah, well, I'm going back to our pals over at IGN because they seem to do this correctly. So, but I'll mention here while I set this up, Pete. Do you think that, like, should we discount the droid a little because it's easier to just make a droid look like a cartoon compared to like making a person look like a cartoon character?
That's not the criteria. The criteria is not how difficult it is and how much.
Like, should we factor that in? Is what I'm saying. Because it's the first time we've hit droids in the bracket.
I mean, sure, but I mean, did we factor it in when it came to Rex or Zeb, because those weren't human? I mean, okay, yes, Rex is a human, but they put suit of armor around him. You can easily manipulate that to make it whatever you want without the use of CGI. Zeb, same thing. So, like, I feel like no, because the droids are going by CGI, right? I mean, it's just like Zeb. I get where you're coming from, though, where I'm looking at the picture right now. It's pretty much dead on, except for maybe the coloring. One's more tan and one's more white, but droids get repainted. It's not the end of the world.
He probably got oil bath in the 30 years he's was not on screen.
Yeah. So, I mean, I get what you're saying, and I understand that maybe they should be dinged, or, you should take it with a grain of salt when it comes to the appearance part of it, at least, because, it's so much easier. But I don't know. I feel like if we didn't do it for Zeb and Rex, we can't really do it for the droids either.
All right. So I think we're all agreeing here. The look, they nailed it, because this is like basically looks like the same thing. Maybe aged a couple, maybe another three decades.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so let's go to the portrayal here, because it's obviously like, I don't know if they have a guy in a suit for that, but they do have David Tennant doing the voice again, the same actor who did him in Clone Wars here, and obviously he has the mannerisms down. So, well, I guess this is an indictment here, Nick. We'll start here. Like, do you like the David Tennant portrayal of Huyang?
Yeah, I think it's as good as it gets.
Yeah,
with this in this sense, in terms of like the portrayal.
Yeah, Pete, how do you feel about the portrayal of Huyang we seen as sort of this wise sage Jedi droid?
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I think they nailed it. I really don't have much to add. It's really good.
Yeah, I will say it's also good, like a good job by David Tennant, who, I mean, I've seen him in like different things, where it's Doctor Who, where it was in season 1 of Jessica Jones, and I remember my first time I heard him as the droid, it was very surprising to me, but he has got the vibe correct.
Yes, definitely.
All right. Character development front here. We get a little bit of Huyang in Clone Wars, again for an arc, basically, where he's teaching younglings how to build a lightsaber, gets chopped up a bit by Hondo's pirates. It's put back together by the end of the arc. Now we see he's basically Ahsoka's personal assistant. He provided basically he's like basically like the Zordon of the ship, where he basically like sort of the mentor of the whole team here. So character development wise, Pete, how you feel they did with Huyang?
I think that's tough because he's a droid. I feel like we're getting the same, or what we expect from him. I think it works. I don't think they did anything wrong. So I guess when it comes to that, I think we're pretty much set with saying it's a really, really good character development. I mean, again, developing into a different role in the droid's life, right? He's not helping them build lightsabers anymore. He's being pretty much Ahsoka's, right-hand droid. But other than that, I feel like the stories and everything that he holds still comes back. So,
Nick, anything you want to add on that front?
No, I really don't have anything to add.
All right, so I'm gonna now say here we'll go to Boba Fett here, which is like yours last week. You see very interesting arrival from animation, because I know how much the casual audience is aware that he originally showed up in the animated portion of the 1978 holiday special, which is basically been banned from existence since its debut. But the animated portion is on Disney Plus. This is where Boba Fett debuts. He basically is sort of like pretending to be a sympathizer to Luke, but he's working for the Empire, capture the rebels, and then they secure get away from him. He gets put in Empire Strikes Back, looks cool, does nothing. Gets put in Return of the Jedi, looks cool, gets eaten by the Sarlacc, gets his own TV, comes back in Mandalorian as a badass, comes back in Boba Fett, his own show, has not been seen since. So start with the look here. So Pete, this is a very drastic look change from animation to live action.
Yeah, I think it's for the better, obviously. I think Boba Fett in live action looks awesome compared to what the holiday special did. Do we ding them on points because of that? Because they changed for the better? Because it is drastic. So do we, because it's such a drastic change, do we say like, oh, the appearance wasn't spot on, so it doesn't really climb up the ladder? Or because it changed for the better, are we just turning a blind eye to that?
Nick, I would lean more towards the gets points for evolving the design, so like it looks like better. Whereas like if this is like if we ding the Grand Inquisitor going the wrong way, gotta get them props are going the right way.
I think I would agree, and also to take just to throw something out there that only people who are watching in the video can tell. There's two pictures you have up on the screen here. The picture on the right is reversed. I can tell, and it makes the antenna look like it's on the wrong side of his helmet, and it's not. That picture is flipped. So, but yeah, I completely agree. It made the design look better. And if you're gonna, like you just said, if you're gonna take points away for making a character worse, you should be adding points for making your character look better.
Yep. So he does well in that category here. Now, in terms of portrayal here, which obviously you've gone through a couple of different characters here. I don't know who voiced him in the anime special here, but we do get, I think Jerry Bullock is the suit actor for Boba Fett in the two original trilogy movies, where I think it's like, we say Nick about like what, 4 lines in the 2 movies?
Yeah, I don't think he has any lines in Return of the Jedi.
I know he has lines in Empire.
Right?
He might have like
In Empire, he has a few lines, but I don't think he has any in Return of the Jedi. And then obviously in Episode 2, down the road, it's Daniel Logan.
Yeah. And then we get I forgot about young Boba Fett, which is sort of the Daniel Logan version. Then we have Tim Morris, who plays his father Django. We learned that Boba's a clone, so Tim Morris takes over the role of Boba Fett in the Mandoverse stuff here. So in terms of the portrayal here, Pete, like how do you think they did with this character?
Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, when we're talking about the transition from animated to live action, I think it's very tough to say how's the portrayal. I think it's night and day. But I think the portrayal is good. I've ragged on Book of Boba Fett for it's got to be what 2 years now, however long ago it came out. But it's not a bad portrayal of the character. The armor's cool. The actor does, I think, a good job with it. And I think it's hard to say from the holiday special to this that's the correct one. I think again it's changed for the better. And throughout all of the live action stuff that we see in movies, series, and stuff like that.
Yeah, Nick, how you feel about it?
I think the portrayal is really good. Again, I don't really remember him much in the holiday special, but I think Boba Fett's a great character.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people feel the same way.
There's a reason why like he's become like he became so popular. Like a lot of like Star Wars canon spun off from just the fact that he looked cool.
You know how I feel on that one.
Yeah. Let's go. Obviously, now we'll go the hardest one I think with him is the character development angle, because I think with him we have the same problem ran into with Grievous, where like his animated appearance is not canon, and that like we're basically going off of we retcon that out. We have a little bit of animated Boba in the move from the young version, from the Dan Logan version, Clone Wars, and then we get the different actors from Bullock and Tim Morrison playing here. Though I think personally, Pete, I think the character realm has been done well, because like even from Empire to now, he's evolved as a character.
I agree. Especially when you look at Book of Boba Fett, as much as I didn't like that series, I think the character development there was a lot to it. There was a lot in there. Um, that was one of the downfalls of it. But I agree with you. I think there has been a lot of character development with that character specifically. And I think that even from animation from Clone Wars '08, right, we still see that rise, right, because we see him as a child or young adult, whatever it is in Clone Wars. So I agree. I think there's a ton of character development there.
Nick, how you feel about the character development for Boba Fett?
I don't have anything to add to what Pete said. It's actually what I was going to say.
Yeah, I think the controversial choice here is like they pick a direction that was not popular for the character, but it was a direction they sort of committed to it. I get them that.
I agree.
All right, so let's do our vote here. So, Pete, you start here. Are we putting Huyang through or Boba Fett through?
So I'm gonna put Huyang through. I think the transition from animation to live action is more dominant with that character. And I also think that it's hard to turn a blind eye to how well everything fits. I know it's a droid, so it's easier with the appearance portion, but all the other options, I think it just fits too well to ding him being a droid for appearance. So I'm going to give it to Huyang.
Nick, your vote.
I'm putting Boba Fett through. I think that a big problem people have with Boba Fett is he's overrated. Let me ask you a question, Mike. What does overrated mean?
Overrated means that people are thinking too highly of him.
So people think too highly of him, which means people think highly of him. If people think highly of him, means he's a great character because he's a character in a television show. It's not like you're overrating a sports player where he should be considered bad, but he's not. No, this is someone that isn't real. So having someone who's overrated as a movie or television character means people like him, and if people like him, it means that the job was done correctly. So if the job was done correctly, and he originated in live action, I'm going Boba Fett.
All right, so this comes down to me. This is one of our rare split decisions here, Pete. We have not had many of these.
I know we're usually pretty clear on the consensus, but I knew Boba Fett was going to give us problems. I knew this one was going to be a split one.
Yeah, and we're gonna have a big upset here. Boba Fett's moving on, Nick.
They're storming the court in Mandalorian Arena.
Yeah, yeah. I think I agree with you. I think this character is just all that they did with him was great, and the fact that he came from this piece of garbage media we got back in 1978, become the most important character in the franchise. I think it speaks to character development very well. And I mean, he's here, he belongs here, and I think like they did a great job with him, and he's really like so much what we do. I think that does weigh in here. I'm putting him through.
I mean, you don't get much cooler than Boba Fett.
Nope. Now we get I don't know what I'm going to do with this one yet. The Sabine and Chopper matchup here. So, because obviously you have they're two Rebels characters, two other members of the Spectre crew. We have one character got a lot of screen time, one got not as much screen time. There's a lot of different angles here to cover. We'll start with our top seed here. We'll start with Sabine Wren in terms of the animated to live action look. So while I will pull that up here, so Nick, you want to start us out here with the look for Sabine?
Yeah, something again. It reminds me of. Excuse me. Something again. Sorry about that. It reminds me of Hera in that something seems dull. I don't know what it is and why these characters seem to have more life in Rebels than they do in live action. I'm not sure if it's casting. I'm not sure if it's makeup or costume. I don't know what it is, but something seems dull, and I don't think it looks that great.
Pete, I think the challenge with doing a Sabine live action look carrying over is that Sabine changes her look so often in Rebels that it makes it hard to pick like what your look you decide to go with. I mean, even in the show, she starts out with the long hair and then cuts it in the second episode.
Yeah, I mean, I think they stayed true to the character in that sense. obviously, when you compare the two pictures that are on the screen for our YouTube viewers, it's hard because the hairstyle is completely different. The hair color is completely different. But I don't know. I kind of feel the same way as Nick. Not to say that it's like blah, but it didn't seem like I didn't look at that character and go, "Oh, look, it's Sabine." I said, "Oh, look, it's someone playing Sabine," and that's kind of how I got it. And I also too, I think her armor was very, I guess, dull is the right word. I feel like they could have done the more colorful armor that she did once before, not just that one. But I understand that was more her last look before the end of Rebels, so I kind of get why they did it too. So it's a little. I'm a little on the fence with this one.
Yeah,
I also think that Pete, you said that it's hard to compare because the hairstyles are different. I think this is supposed to be the same hairstyle, and I think that speaks volumes to how dull this looks. That this is supposed to be the same hairstyle, and it just doesn't even seem like it.
yeah. So I think in terms of that, I'll also mention here before I shut the screen off here. I think the armor thing, it looks like too shiny, or like too polished. Like we know Sabine was like in Rebels is very much like an artist. Like I'm making personalized my own stuff. This looks like, oh, this I just got out the box.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
All right, so now let's go to the portrayal aspect here, where Natasha Liu Bordizzo portrays Sabine Wren, and obviously where the character is left off in Rebels was a big deal in the portrayal here. But what do you think about the portrayal, Pete?
I actually enjoyed it. I think it's pretty good. Is it the best out of the portrayals that we talked about during all of this bracket? No, it's not. But I think it was good. I think the actress did a good job portraying what Sabine's supposed to be and what her personality is. And I mean, I'm gonna sound like a broke record, but I enjoyed it.
Nick, what do you think?
I agree. I thought it was really good. I think it picked up where we left off. I know that's the next question. It's supposed to be like the development, but I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I feel like she did a good job, Natasha Liu Bordizzo as Sabine, because like this character is like very complicated emotionally, where like she gets left in Rebels, where like basically like her best friends disappears and presumed dead, and she has a lot of guilt about like her role in that. Like one of her close, like I say, like the father figure in her life dies. We learn in the series that like she's lost a lot of her family off screen, so like she does a good job portraying all the complicated emotions this character is going through.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so last one here, the character development angle here. I think this is the one that's going to be the most controversial because a lot of this is out of the hands of the actress in terms of the story direction they chose to sort of build on Sabine and have her become a Jedi. So I think, Nick, let's start there. Like character development wise, do you think that makes sense?
Yes, I think it made sense. I think the character picked off in a perfect spot. I think it was done really, really well. I think it is a controversial take for some reason, I feel like, but I don't think it should be.
I don't think so either. I mean, it makes sense that like Ahsoka was close to Sabine and sort of says, "Hey, like I can take you on and help you out here." And it goes to the original mythos of the whole franchise is that hey, like Luke was a farm boy who had no understanding of the Force, and all of a sudden he's doing incredible things like 2 hours after meeting Obi-Wan.
Yeah, I don't think it's far fetched.
Yeah, in terms of let's focus on that besides the Jedi angle here. In terms of like where she goes from Rebels, where she left off there, where she is as a character to what she becomes over the course of Ahsoka. And Nick, do you feel that was natural? I feel like they skipped some steps.
No, I thought it was natural. I don't have an issue with this at all, and I'm not really sure why so many do.
Pete, like, why do you think you'll have such an issue with this?
Um, hard to say. I'm not them, but if I had a guess, I had to speculate about why, it's because it wasn't a perfect match. I feel like and I'm guilty of this too. If it's not a perfect match, I get like upset about it, and I say like, why wasn't it this way? But I feel like that's the reason. I mean, I think the character development's fine. I think we get Sabine where we kind of left her. I think the personalities stay the same. I think everything that was happening in Rebels onto the Ahsoka show makes sense. I'm kind of with Nick. I don't understand why there was so much backlash about it. However, sometimes people want the literal Sabine from Rebels, looks, actions where they were when Rebels ended. They don't like having gray area, maybe, you know, for 10 years or whatever it is, and they don't know what was going on. So again, all speculation, but I agree with Nick. I think it was fine. I think it was good.
Yeah, so I think in terms of the I'm gonna throw this out here just to put it on the record here because I feel like it's something that has to be just tossed in here. Nick, would you say I think there's also a dose of misogyny thrown there from the Star Wars fandom where they tend to like really try and drag down female characters they don't like?
Maybe I don't know because people
I think
seem
it's
to
a little bit of it in there.
possibly, but I'm not sure because there are female characters that they love, so I don't really think that's fair to paint on them.
Yeah, so I think there's a portion of the fan that feels that way. It's not my opinion. It's not everybody.
Possibly.
All right, so now let's go to I think the most fun character to try and figure out in the bracket here, which is our unofficial mascot Chopper. Nick,
The
I know
look was good.
so I'll get the Chopper here. Like we had the little droid conversation with Huyang, and we get interesting here. It's the second version of Chopper here because we get him in Rogue One for about 30 seconds as a cameo in the background, and we get a more detailed version here. So I'll pull the version up on the screen we see here. So in terms of Mr. Chopper here, Pete, what do you think of the look?
Yeah, perfect. I love it. I think they did a great job.
Yeah.
It looks like the orange line that runs across his quote unquote chest is
Yeah.
a little shorter in live action than it goes in animation.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
And it looks like everything is a little over to that side.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
maybe it's just the angle that he's looking at his head. But other than that, I guess, it's literally perfect, right?
well, it's him in the ship, so it might be a little skewed.
Yeah. So it's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah, I like that they made improvement from the Rogue One model to this model.
Yeah, you can find a picture of that Rogue One model.
Yeah, I'll find it in a second here. Well, you want to filibuster for me, Nick, while I do that?
Yeah, I mean, so the way he looks is absolutely perfect, and then we go to like how he's portrayed and how he acts and whatnot. And I mean, how is it not perfect? Right?
Yeah, so I found an image on Star Wars Cantina on Reddit of the Chopper Rogue One model next to R2. So here's the Chopper Rogue One version, which I think is much better. Than the
darker.
Yeah, like this, I think there's like just design. Oh, you see the shape of him, but he's not supposed to pay much attention to him.
Yeah, and again, they both look fantastic.
Yeah. All right, so in terms of the portrayal here, it's obviously we know Dave Filoni voices Chopper. He's been voicing him since Rebels here, but I think like 1-to-1 P. I think this is like a perfect spot on. Like it's Dave Filoni, he knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that 100%. There's really not much to add other than it's just perfect.
Yeah,
love Chopper.
You already mentioned that as well. So we ready to move on to the character development with this Chopper? Nick, you ready to go there?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes.
All right, so character development wise for Chopper here. I mean, Rogue One can't really count because he's not really doing anything. But the second, like the footage, we don't get a ton of him in Ahsoka, but when we do, like he's the same war criminal, like murderous, like cranky droid we love in this show. I think that they nailed it with him.
They did. Really, there's nothing negative to say about Chopper except he isn't utilized enough in live action.
Yeah, I know, Pete, that we've said for years that like the best use of the droids be for comic relief. I feel like Chopper is like, well, I think I'm gonna take bold hot take. I think he's the best comic relief droid in Star Wars.
I agree. I think he's the best droid in Star Wars. I'll go straight hot take. I think he's the best droid in Star Wars. I think comic relief wise as well. I think like Nick said, I think he's just underutilized in the show. I get why he is, but I was hoping we got an uptick in the Chopper kill count. And I think that's the most disappointing part about Chopper's character was the writing of what he does in the show.
Yeah, Nick, I think to be fair to Dave Filoni, I think it may have been hard to sell to actual Disney execs. Like, we have a droid here who wants to murder people.
Well, don't forget Disney made the character. Rebels was a Disney program.
Yeah, well, it's different as a cartoon compared to like, well, see,
Different execs.
yeah, I did.
But
I think we got the gist of it when like he's trying to say like just shoot the thing down, the ship down in episode 2 of Ahsoka over the city, and she's like, you can't. Like, there's people here. He's like, why not? What's wrong with that?
uh I guess. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Chopper. I mean, I really don't know what to say.
Yeah,
It makes me laugh, Chopper, the way he's kind of
angry.
genocidal.
Yeah, yeah. And Pete, I also love we always loved in Rebels when Hera has the hearing and C-3PO brings the information in, and then that arrogant asshole Senator Giano is like, we can't take this information from a droid, and Chopper is going, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, he iconic scene.
Yeah.
I think all in all, and I think we'll all agree to this, I think that Chopper was perfect when it comes to the portrayal and also the character development, because it's like you mentioned, it's literally Dave Filoni. He's not going to change the character because he is him. So I think that you're always just going to baseline that's what you're going to get from Chopper, whatever you're going to see him in moving forward.
All right, so let's go ahead now to the vote. So this is a tough vote. I don't know where I'm going yet. So Nick, you want to start us on this vote?
I'm gonna have to go with Sabine just because of the lack of live action presence of Chopper. We don't see it enough. And I just don't get enough from the character to move on. But I think if we were to see Chopper in, let's just say, a full episode of Chopper and Hera in a desert, like looking for a civilization, I would probably go with Chopper. But we don't have that episode, so I'm going with Sabine.
Pete.
You know, by the way, Mike, it's time soon. You should be doing one of the first two and not be the deciding vote every time. Everyone wants to be that deciding vote.
So I'll be the deciding vote now. I'm putting Sabine through. I really want it to be Chopper. Like, I really, really want it to be Chopper, but literally for the same exact reasons that Nick said, just this is not enough. There's not enough to confidently say he's better transition to live action than Sabine. So Sabine Wren's going through.
Yeah, I think this is the closest because like we got like enough of Chopper say they got it, but like Sabine had so much more runway to work with it and did something with it. I think I think it would be malpractice not to Sabine over Chopper. All right, so we have now our final matchup here in this region, the Boba Fett Sabine matchup here for a trip to the Final Four. We had the big upset earlier here, so I'm going to start this out here. I'm putting Boba through. I think Boba should be in the Final Four.
I hope he brought his scissors because he's going to the Final Four.
Pete looks stunned by this.
I am only because I am and I'm not, because I understand, right? It's Boba Fett. He's cool. The last show he was in was just written poorly. It's not the character's fault. But when it comes to transition from animation to live action, I just feel like the actual transition was smoother and made more sense with Sabine than it did Boba Fett. And I understand that the Christmas or the holiday special was how many freaking years ago, but it's just hard for me to grasp that we're saying that Boba Fett was an animated character that transitioned to live action. It's just hard for me, you know? So I was going to say Sabine Wren, but it doesn't matter because you guys voted in Boba Fett. And I respect that for sure.
Yeah. So I think this is definitely a hard choice for me, but I do feel like the impact Boba had over all Star Wars. I mean, Sabine is a Mandalorian because they decided to make a whole race of Mandalorians because of Boba Fett.
I get it. I think the character is the most influential out of the two. But when we talk about the transition from an animated character to a live action character, you cannot deny that Sabine Wren as an animated character had a lot more weight than Boba Fett did, and then she transferred that into a live action character. You know, I think that we have taken the live action characters like Chopper and Rex and Zeb and say, well, we don't have enough live action, so we can't really give it to them. why can't we do it the opposite way and say, well, we don't have a lot of animated, so we can't give it to them either? That's kind of where I'm at.
All right. Well, that's certainly fair.
I thought about that, and in my mind, it's because it's animation to live action. If it was live action to animation, I'm with you.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
That's my reason for not.
Yeah, it's like they did so much with his character. Plus, we mentioned earlier, his appearance improved. They upgraded him when he went to live action.
He's only gotten built upon to make those small. You could even call them cameos from Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. He's only been improved in that sense to make him a better character in so many ways. Wasn't he in? I could be wrong about this. Was he in the special edition of A New Hope?
I think he might have been
on Tatooine.
He might have been hanging out with Jabba at that point.
I gotta look this up.
Yeah, and I'll also throw in, he's also been in the video game because in case you forgot, he was a Jedi Survivor also.
Yeah, he was hanging out with Jabba the Hutt there. Yeah, he's there.
Yeah, so he's been all over the place.
So yes.
All right.
Well, I think that character has only improved over time. I think that the gripe against him is that he's overrated, and I think in order to be overrated, you need to be liked. And if you're liked, obviously they did something right. And I think the way I look at it, animation to live action is how were you in animation? How were you in live action? If you were down here in animation and you're up here in live action, I think that means they did a great job with the transition.
Yeah, so we had our first Cinderella in the bracket here. Our 4 seed Boba Fett, 13 overall, is in the final 4.
But Boba Fett was one of those teams, Mike, that he was in a big conference. He's like when UNC is a 9 seed when they finish one game over 500.
Yeah.
That's how I think of Boba Fett.
And no offense to the selection committee here, I think Boba was too low.
Well, clearly, if we put him in the final 4, we both think that, right?
Yeah, I mean, we think he was the best of these 4 characters. I think he could have been like a 3 seed in a different region, at least.
I'm with you.
All right, so coming on next week, we're at the final 4 here. So the bracket's going to be in the full YouTube version later on. I didn't have a chance to build it before we recorded this, so it's going to be one matchup here. We're going to have Thrawn against Bo-Katan. The other match here is Boba Fett against Ezra Bridger. So that's our final 4.
I'm very excited for it. I already know who I want in the final 4 and who I want to win. But, obviously it depends on how you guys vote and how we're going to get to that finals. So we will see. Yeah,
I'll put the call out to the audience here, Pete. If you want to share your brackets, you've been playing along with us, you want to share it with us on social media at Sky Guys Podcast, we'll share some of those brackets on the podcast.
Yeah, if you guys filled it out, if you guys want to show us up until we're doing full or are we just doing up to final 4?
We'll do the full in the final episode. We also
so you guys have a couple more weeks. So
yeah, we've also had the
people's bracket.
We've been running polls. Yeah, we have the people's bracket. We're running polls on Instagram and getting people's feedbacks, and it's a little getting people's feedback, and it's been a little bit different than what we have so far, but mostly the same, but a little couple changes in there.
Yeah, so people have been weighing in, so we appreciate you guys have been voting in those polls. They've been very helpful here. But next week we'll be back for the final 4. It'll be a lot of fun. I want to thank you guys once again for coming on here. Pete, if you want to follow you on social media, how can they do that?
At Consy29, CONSY 29. I almost said my old one. And also AP Tyler 308 on Reddit created this background, so definitely check that out too. But again, CONSY 29 on Twitter.
Yeah, Nick already mentioned our handle at Sky Guys Podcast. I'll tell you where that handle is.
Instagram, Twitter X, Threads, and TikTok.
If you also follow me on social media, mphillips331, it's MPHILIPS331. This week over on Just on the Suffering podcast, we'll do a little Jets talk this. We're doing a little Jets talk this week. Obviously, just trying to see if the Jets did well in their big game against the Bills. They're trying to salvage their season, maybe give hope a miracle Aaron Rodgers come back here. Plus, Thanksgiving week NFL picks. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, NFL on Thanksgiving. Can you name a better combo?
I cannot.
Maybe turkey. Maybe turkey.
Yeah, maybe turkey. That's for sure here. But I'll mention that here. We'll be back next week for the final edition of the animated live action bracket. We will be crowning a champion next week. Until then, happy Thanksgiving, everyone, and may the force be with you.